why the abjad suits the Arabs. In his seminal 1959 article entitled Diglossia, Charles A. Ferguson takes Egyptian Arabic as an example of a low variety in this type of situation where two varieties of a language exist side by side. Two varieties of a language exist side by side through the community, with each having a definite role to play. Egyptians therefore speak what is often described as a dialect of Arabic.
Excuse me.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Egyptians therefore speak what is often described as a dialect of Arabic in their daily lives, while writing is primarily in the high variety, in this case, classical Arabic, or its modern version, thence referred to as Standard Arabic. In 2008, an edition of Wikipedia in Egyptian Arabic was created. Wikipedia Masri, an adjective meaning Egyptian, parallel to the 2004 Arabic edition. This constituted a further step towards the dialect's legitimation as a language in its own right, capable of dealing with all the fields of human knowledge to be found in an encyclopedia. However, as with any emergence of a written corpus, many questions needed to be resolved. A major one is how to write. Of course, the traditional way of writing Arabic is the Arabic script, used mostly as an abjad, a system in which mostly consonants are represented, leaving vowels to be deduced by the reader. For sure, vowels can be indicated with diacritic marks, but these are rarely used. The Arabic script can also be used so as to write consonants and vowels phonographically, essentially in loan words, such as demokratia. But this is marginal in Standard and Egyptian Arabic. So the abjad has regularly been judged deficient in rendering the phonology of Arabic. A drastic solution is the recourse to the Latin script, used phonographically for consonants and vowels. Some contributors to Wikipedia Masri suggested using what they call Al-Franco-Arab, similar to what is known as Arabism, with the use of Latin letters for the corresponding sounds in Arabic and numbers or even digraphs for the others. They highlight the ease of writing on a computer or mobile phone keyboard that does not have an Arabic alternative. Others suggest in experimental articles a phonetic writing with Latin letters, some of them enriched with diacritical marks. The goal is to write Egyptian Arabic by representing the pronunciation more precisely than with the abjad mode of Arabic. This method is even presented as a liberation of the Egyptian language from Arabic letters incapable of representing Egyptian speech. This attempt to transcribe Egyptian Arabic using graphs for the Latin alphabet is nothing new. In 1897, Daniel Willard Fisk, an American academic, published an Egyptian alphabet for the Egyptian people. In this book, he presented a transcription model for writing the Egyptian dialect in the Latin alphabet. The goal was nothing less than to have this alphabet adopted in Egypt for the teaching of written Egyptian Arabic, which would replace classical Arabic. Despite the distribution of a whole range of promotional material to Egyptian teachers, this alphabet was never adopted. Many other transcription systems have been created since the 19th century to give the most accurate phonographic representation of the pronunciation of Egyptian Arabic, mostly for the needs of foreign learners of the language. For some of the phonemes, a one-to-one correspondence between Egyptian Arabic phonemes and Latin letters is straightforward and indeed used by all the transcription systems consulted. But for other phonemes, a basic Latin graph may be used with a diacritic. This is particularly the case for the emphatic consonants that have their own graph in Arabic, and a few other phonemes with no equivalent in the target language of the transcribers. We even find instances of the use of the Arabic graph I. Finally, for a certain number of phonemes, transcriptions vary between basic Latin graphs, sometimes with a diacritic on the one hand, or digraphs, and even a trigraph on the other hand. The first solution allows for a nice isomorphic correspondence to be maintained, but in addition to the lack of consensus on the choice of diacritics, it forces modern scribes to resort to rare graphs that are beyond the range of the common keyboard. The second solution is the digraph. It is easy to implement, already common in European languages, but it is ambiguous, given that a sequence of two letters can correspond to one phoneme or two phonemes. In the latter case, one solution is to place a hyphen between the two letters, which looks like an unwieldy quick fix, establishing a separation right in the middle of a word. No consensual solution has therefore really emerged to handily transcribe Arabic into the Latin alphabet. Still, even for some Arabs, the recourse to the Latin script has been seen as a desirable solution, notably to write the vowels of Arabic on the same level as the consonants. The most famous attempt was the project of Abdelaziz Fahmy. A member of the Academy of the Arabic Language in Cairo, he was no less than the chairman of the Committee on Writing and Grammar when he presented his project in 1944. One originality was to mix Latin graphs, some with a stroke, and Arabic graphs, a few of these reversed, and linked in a serial form to the Latin graphs. But his main concern was writing the vowels, whose absence he saw as the main drawback in the Arabic writing system. Fahmy admitted that the same verse written in Arabic script was much shorter than what written in the one he suggested, but he found it preferable to transfer the burden of explicitation from the reader to the writer. As expected, Fahmy's proposal created a scandal, and it was never implemented, but it is still remembered as a symbol of blatant hostility towards Islam and Pan-Arabism. Yearning for a perfect phonographic script is an understandable undertaking, but probably a vain one. As Florian Kolmos cautions, even a system of phonetic transcription like the International Phonetic Alphabet should not be taken to mean that it incorporates the ultimate solution to the problem of rendering a continuous stream of sound into a discrete array of graphic signs. This is apparent in differences that exist between Egyptian Arabic and Standard Arabic. One of the three vowels of the latter is the front and rounded open vowel A, to which some descriptions of Egyptian Arabic add its back twin R. They provide the minimal pair Baba, the second month of the Coptic calendar, and Baba, Pope, Pontiff, Patriarch. Other descriptions prefer in this case to speak of a single vowel and of a series of marginal pharyngealized consonants noted by a dot under the Latin letter. The hesitation in choosing which element of the context, consonant or vowel should be elevated to a phoneme testifies to the difficulty of finding the holy grail of a perfect phonographic script. This should remind us that there is more to speech than a mere sequence of consonants and vowels. An abjad that is focused on the consonants in the syllable may offer a better ambit for suprasegmental elements, closer to that of the syllabary. In any case, for Wikipedia mastery, the suggestion to write in a phonographic alphabet were not retained, and the abjad mode was preferred. The main arguments were that Egyptians are much more accustomed to writing and reading it, and the suggested change was perceived as being too bold a step. Although this choice may seem natural, It is in contradiction with the stated goal of many early contributors to Wikipedia mastery, which was to liberate their language from its submission to Arabic, felt as an outside influence from the Arabian Peninsula. This stance is particularly illustrated by the evolution of the terms chosen early on to describe the language of Wikipedia mastery. First, it is al-Lugha al-Armiya al-Masriya, the Egyptian colloquial language. Then it becomes Kalam Masri, Egyptian talk, and the pejorative term colloquial disappears. Finally, it becomes al-Lugha al-Masriya al-Haditha, that is to say, the modern Egyptian language, thus placing it in an idealized continuum with the ancient hieroglyphic Egyptian language. The goal is to minimize its proximity to Arabic, while laying claim to more ancient and prestigious pharaonic roots. The preference for the same abjad mode as Arabic is thus a major concession to the recognition of a certain kinship between this modern Egyptian language and Arabic. This obsession with vowels is also strange for a language like Standard Arabic that basically has just three. Quite regularly, the language hesitates between one or the other, while retaining the same meaning. In any case, the writing does not differ. Similarly, between Standard Arabic and Egyptian Arabic, the differences are often limited to the pronunciation of vowels. Writing as an abjad thus allows some room to be left for different interpretations of the written word. This makes it possible to accommodate the various pronunciations of vowels in the different regiolexes of Arabic and in the standard variety of the language. The use of an abjad appears indeed to be particularly compatible with the situation of diglossia that exists in Arabic. By highlighting the consonants, it acts as the middle ground between an alphabetical script and a syllabic script, leaving some slack for the reader to interpret the written word. So what could be felt as a deficiency by a few may have turned out to be a useful compromise for many. However, the early contributors to Wikipedia mastery have devised ways to differentiate the script they use from the traditional Arabic script. In Arabic, the graph ya most often corresponds to the semiconsonant y or the long vowel e. A similar graph, but without the two dots, used exclusively in final position, corresponds to the long vowel a. It is called alif maksura. Egyptians are known for merging the two graphs in one, in final position, most often the undotted alif maksura. This national specificity was therefore seized upon by the initiators of Wikipedia mastery to write any final ya as an alif maksura, thus exploiting the situation of deorthographia present in Egypt. Another subtlety of Arabic is the difference between alif al-wasl and alif al-qata, which could be translated respectively as fusion alif and separation alif. These are the two main statuses of the alif at the beginning of a word. The alif al-qata is the alif that indicates a global stop, the separation, generally marked with the hamza as a diacritic above or beneath. The alif al-wasl is a token graph that indicates a liaison, the fusion, with the last vowel of the preceding word. It is not pronounced except at the beginning of the sentence, where it is pronounced as alif al-qata with a glottal stop. In most texts, the alif al-wasl has no diacritic mark, which differentiates it from the alif al-qata with its hamza. Getting one's alifs wrong is one of the most common errors in contemporary Arabic. This may be one reason why the general rule set by the initiators of Wikipedia mastery is to almost systematically write the initial alif without a hamza. A third contextual variant of an Arabic letter is the ta marbuta, late ta. In Standard Arabic, it is a graph always placed at the end of the word, which takes the form of a graph ha, topped by the two dots of the ta. It is necessarily preceded by the vowel a, short or long, and is pronounced t, followed by the vowel of declension, except at the pause, mostly at the end of the sentence. where it is only pronounced A. In Egyptian Arabic, ta marbuta is generally pronounced A, but it becomes it at the end of the first element of an idafa, genitive construction. To reflect this difference, the initiators of Wikipedia mastery have established the following rule. The ta marbuta is written according to its pronunciation, with 2 dots when it is pronounced t, and without dots in the other cases. Thus, the contributors to Wikipedia mastery have managed to give the script used on a project a specific appearance that helps to differentiate it from the Wikipedia al-Arabiya. This tendency to simplify the script is probably inspired by the common style of handwriting. This is visible in caricatures like this one, and reminiscent of the popular roots of written Egyptian Arabic, mostly handwritten at the origin. Erasing elements of the script is a bit like going back to the origins of Arabic writing, when dots were not used to discriminate between letters of the same shape. This is in contrast with the modern versions of the Quran that not only have dots, but are also entirely vocalized. This contrast is part of the opposition between the concepts of Zahir and Batin, mentioned in the Quran, that could be translated as the manifest and the unseen, an opposition that permeates through multiple aspects of Arabic society. The solution of the abjad reflects these 2 facets: the possibility to write with a minimum of graphs and let the reader make his own deductions, or with all the diacritics to provide a maximum amount of information. Thank you very much. Yes.
What differences matter to Egyptian speakers? You didn't really tell us. So, for instance, is it lexical differences? Are they conjugational differences? Because the only one you explicitly gave us really was vowels. And you would have thought, well, if you're trying to show that you're Egyptian, you really want the vowels in so that nobody from another dialect could read what you're saying, what you're writing, and think, oh, I can stick my own vowels in there. You would really want that to be clear. So if you're not doing vowels, is there something else that says this is Egyptian?
Yes, conjugations. You have a prefix for the basically the present tense. You have and lexical differences also, but differentiating Egyptian Arabic from Standard Arabic is a major challenge for the writers in the Wikipedia mastery, and that's why they have, I think, these strategies to differentiate the script and make it look different.
And adding vowel marks or using Y or W.
Vowel marks, that would have meant using the Latin script, because then.
I mean, Arabic has got indigenous vowel marks as well.
Yeah. Yes, but they're not marked in the Arabic script or the abjad as it used as an adjunct.
You have decided to mark them. Is that just considered too infantile or?
Yes. That's too complicated. I mean, that's not the way. I mean, it's too complicated for the writer and too complicated for the reader, for the experimented reader, because it's an impediment when you read. I mean, it's too much information. So, and then they wouldn't have the signs anyway to show the difference. And the well, the vowel I mentioned, in fact, is more a question of emphatic consonants. It basically appears in the context of emphatic consonants. That's the difference between the ta and the ta, for example, and that is translated through the consonant in the written form. So yes, that's a challenge for them.
Thank you. That was fascinating hearing all the attempts to reduce Egyptian Arabic probably other countries, Arabic-speaking countries, to the Latin alphabet, which doesn't make any sense to me from my point of view about learning to read and what the script needs to supply. The vowels are really great for beginners. And I believe in Egypt too, as we have in Israel, they're dropped out just like the same as Hebrew. They're sort of training wheels just to get to the core, which is the consonantal roots, at least experimental psycholinguistics accept that idea. But I think above all, keeping when you write, I know it's the case in Hebrew, and I believe it's also the case, perhaps a little bit less so in Arabic, because there are the long vowels are big and sit between the root, the radical letters. So that disrupts, I think, the root a little bit. But still, you have that constancy, the morpheme constancy that you don't get when you start writing the roots in line with the vowels and all those variations in you still have other problems like the positional allography. But I absolutely agree for additional reasons that the abjad makes perfect sense, and it would be a disaster to write it any of the Semitic languages in Latin script.
Maltese.
Yes.
We have a study we're going to be looking at that. That's true, but Maltese is so Europeanized. I don't know whether we have enough data to say, is it more Arab, is it more Semitic?
It is a Semitic language, definitely.
Historically, yes, and okay, it's an empirical question.
And there's Arabizi too. I mean that's
Arabizi.
Yes, some Arabs write with Latin letters, and so that's also there's also this tendency. So I don't know what the future will hold for.
Yeah.
But it's both
the other
pressure.
Way, there are non-Arab, non-Semitic languages written with the Arabic abjad. You've got Urdu, Pashto, Farsi, and there's one or two others there. Yeah. And they seem to succeed with an abjad, even though they're some of them, at least they're Indo-European, so.
Well, they have reformed the script. Yeah. Uyghur has reformed the script massively. So an Arab origin reader cannot read Uyghur. Even the Quran has been in all names.
Really?
In the Quran have been written. Yes.
Yeah, there's also the Turkish example.
Well, yeah, but that's
use
not a
Arabic
Semitic
for
language.
Yeah, but these other languages are also not Semitic. And they manage to switch.
Yeah, well.
I had a question. First of all, thank you. It's always really interesting to see how culture and language and writing is decline. And I was wondering, is there also a religious element in this question? Is there I'm thinking about the Coptic minority in Egypt. How do they deal with this Wikipedia in general, with the use of Arabic alphabet, abjad? And did anybody think of using the Coptic alphabet, even though it is completely unfit for a Semitic language to transcript mastery?
Yes. Well, that's the accusation against Wikipedia in Egyptian Arabic, is that it's the creation of Copts, and indeed the person who had the idea and who just founded it, suggested the idea is a Copt, But other, I mean, there are people who are Muslim who participate also, contribute. Now they did at the beginning try to see which script they could use. I think some of them did mention the Coptic script, but I mean, it went nowhere. And but that was a possibility raised, and they do claim to have a strong relationship with the Coptic language, and which is the descendant of the Egyptian language, which is not really true. In fact, I mean, but they reject this. Well, at least they put the Arabic origin on the same level as the Coptic origin and the ancient Egyptian origin, which is, well, I mean, difficult to accept, but that's the way they see it. So yes, it's very religious. Of course, the Arabic, on the other hand, is seen by the opponents as the language of the Quran. So you should not. In fact, it's the same. It's the same idea of what you should, what is manifest and what is unseen, and what is manifest in Arabic is classical Arabic, is the Quran, and what is unseen are the dialects. You don't write dialects, and you just hear them. And well, that's changing, but that's the general idea. So it's a sort of a taboo that they're breaking here by writing their dialect.
Something Guy didn't say is that in theater plays, there were parts of dialect in Egyptian Arabic, but they weren't written. They were written in standard Arabic with the indication, please pronounce it in Egyptian way. So the actor has to spontaneously create this. I think I can.
I want to know how much of nationalism has influenced these movements, because we have the same, like we had, like in Iran, we had this same idea. At some point, they wanted to reform the writing, because we have much more problem with Egyptians. I can assure you, we have like all the Zeri pronounce just one sound all the time, because yeah, the languages are different. But we can understand that how much nationalism is inside in Iran, and of course we can understand it by seeing that every time we turn to Latin is the first solution, as if there is no other writing system in the world. So yeah, I want to know the demography of the Egyptians thinking about this idea.
Well, yes, they're very nationalistic, and I mean, they consider, I mean, the main articles they started writing were about Egypt and Egyptians, and you have many articles about Egyptian food and all this. So this is there was a study, there was a paper published last year that details all this. It's in the tradition of Egyptian nationalism that emerged at the beginning of the 20th century, where there was already this tendency to what they call Egyptianization, that is using words used by Egyptians rather than the classical Arabic words, and that included using words of European origin, like what they say, I mean, telephone, for example, instead of hatif, as we just saw, because they said, well, that's the word we use every day. We don't use hatif when we use the telephone. And so this nationalism was subdued with the Pan-Arabism of Nasser, sort of yes, when that appeared. But ever since now, this is coming back, and it's there's a big yes. A big difference that is felt between Egyptians and what they call the people of the Gulf, the Arabs. That's what the Arabs live in on the Arabian Peninsula, and they are Egyptians. So yes, very nationalistic.
What about in the West, like Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, and so? Do they also have some kind of local Wikipedia or some?
Yes, the Moroccan Arabic edition appeared in 2020 or 2022. So that's very recent, but apparently there is a strong strong appetite for using Wikipedia to promote their what they call the Darija, that is the dialect, and that's a bit strange because they also have Tamazight and their local languages, which is when we oppose the west of the Arab world, where you have these different languages but the same religion, and the east, where you have the same language, that is Arabic, and different religions. But even there, in the West, they want to promote their own version of dialectal Arabic. So yes, there is.
I have a question by Joseph Vichy. Can you ask it?
Yes, thank you, Yanis. I have a basic question. First of all, you did not mention, you mentioned it quite shortly, but you did not mention Arabizi as a way of writing which is used by young people, often sometimes on the internet and sometimes on their SMSs, where they use Latin characters, basically because it's cheaper. The number of bits occupied by Arabic characters is wider. So they can write a longer message for the same price if they use characters. And then in this case, there are codes which are more or less accepted by Arabizi users everywhere, such as 7 for Ha or 3 for Ain or whatever. And that's question one. Question two is what can the future of writing Arabic with Latin characters be, since everybody in the Arab world uses Arabic writing for writing Arabic, and this is what they learn at school. So why do we need another system? So these are my two questions. Thank you.
Yes. So well, yes. Well, Arabic, I did mention Arabic and gave some examples, as you mentioned. Yes, the use of the numerals for that because of their iconic resemblance to the Arabic letters, and that's I thought it appeared at the beginning of the internet when there were no real keyboards that allowed you to write with Arabic, the Arabic script, and now that's, I mean, everybody can download the keyboard in the script they want. So I thought that had disappeared, but apparently, yes, it's still going on. Some young people still write. I mean, a friend of mine sent me a Facebook exchange where he asked a question in the Arabic script, and someone answered in the Latin script. And yes, that's my bachelor. And
Arabic, is it dialectal or is it Fusha?
Well, you could use it for anything, but it's more dialectal, and it's used in all the dialects. So what's the future? I don't know, but I think that's related to the future of Arabic, because I think as with French, really, I mean, in Egyptian Arabic, they use many English words, more and more English words, and as we do in French too. And so I think there's a sort of a mixture that's going on. And for example, in the message that I mentioned, the person wrote the word in Arabic words in Latin script and the word logic. There's no mafish logic. There is no logic. And so he used, there's an Arabic word that's meant for logic, but he didn't use the classical Arabic word, he used the English word. So I think this is related. That's what I mean. So yes, we'll see what happens. But one problem is that I don't know if you agree with me, but people in Arabic countries learn a written language and they speak a language that is fairly different. And so classical Arabic or standard Arabic is associated with a sort of school homework, and it's not natural. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I've heard, that's what I've read. So their empathy sometimes goes to the dialect. And so I don't know how far this can go, but I think that's some tendency.
Last question, Fabian.
I just wanted to ask if you looked at if there exists any teaching materials for Egyptian Arabic.
You have loads of books to teach Egyptian Arabic to foreigners, but nothing about the written Egyptian Arabic because it does not exist, although it does exist. I mean, it's...
And what kind of writing do these books for the foreigners use?
They use mostly, they use what I showed, I mean, the transcriptions in the Latin alphabet, but some of them, one of the most complete, which is 4 or 5 quite big books, they use, after the first book, they use the Arabic script, because they teach the Arabic script in the first book, and then they suppose that you are supposed to master this. And I've attended courses with this method, and the teachers would write in Arabic script with the diacritics to show the vowels, the Egyptian Arabic vowels, which are quite similar, in fact, to the. So everything is possible.